I'd like to call this meeting in order. Welcome everyone to the Carrick County Water Authority meeting. Thank the City of Flint for hosting this in their City Council chambers. Today we're here at the City of Flint. Okay. First and foremost, I want to start out with a pledge of allegiance offered by our
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Dear Heavenly Father, we appreciate this beautiful day. We thank you for the weather and we pray for good weather to continue for our planting of our crops and our communities. We also ask for your guidance in our meeting today, that we may get through all these 120 plus pages of goodies. We also ask for your guidance and protection for our men and women in the military, both at home and overseas. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Roll call, please.
Okay, before I begin roll call, I'd like to let everyone know that I did receive notification from Marcia Benelli and Mr. Ted Hunter will be your proxy for this meeting. Roll call. Jamie Curtis.
Here.
Gary Green.
Here.
Richard Hamill. Ted Henry.
Here.
Mickey Hoffman. Here. Gail Ferguson.
Here.
Eric Mays.
Present.
Sheldon Neely. Laura Sullivan. Joseph Suma. Tom Severchek.
Here.
Karen Weaver. Here. Paula Zelenko. Here. And Chairman Greg Alexander.
Here.
Also present, we have CEO Jeff Bright and Corporation Counsel Kevin Kilby.
Mr. Chairman, we do need to swear in our newest member.
Mr. Cousineau.
Yes.
Okay.
He's the new county board representative from Genesee County. Yeah, go ahead and move forward.
Can we do it after the treasurer? Should we do that now? So you can vote for it?
Yeah, I would do it now.
It's actually under that, okay.
Okay.
It's on the community.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and say your name,
Martin Cousineau,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
I will faithfully execute the duties
of Authority Board Member
of Authority Board Member
of the Carigandi Water Authority
of the Carigandi Water Authority
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
defend the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and state of Michigan,
and state of Michigan.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Martin, and please let the record reflect that we do have a quorum present. First on the agenda are minutes from the August 31st, 2016. I have a motion by Curvison, support by Curtis, to accept the minutes as presented. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Ricker.
yeah, I haven't really had a chance to look at it, but I'll probably want to ask about talking, and so I'll probably report them up. I said, I'm looking at them as I talk. You said, accept them as presented, not with corrections, but I hadn't looked at them, so I'll probably support accepting them as presented. But I was saying I was looking at them as I was talking.
Okay. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Number 2 on the agenda are the treasurer's reports. Mr. Carl.
Good afternoon. Okay, so in your packet, kind of looking at this here, it looks like about a third of the 120 pages are related to financial statements. I'll take some blame. But what you should have here are the monthly financial statements from August 31st through March 31st of 2017. So this just comprises the different monthly statements that have been sent out since our last meeting. Everyone on the board should be receiving these on a monthly basis. So like I've said in the past, if there's ever a time that you're feeling like you're not getting these, let us know. But Janice sends those out after we compile those together. A couple things that I would bring to your attention, I guess, at this time, and some of this is going to be related to some of the resolutions that are going to be talked about a little bit later today. But I guess I would bring your attention to the most recent financial statements, March 31st. So those are going to be, once again, about a third of the way through your package. And some of the things that we'll be talking about today, I'm going to point out to you, at the end of March, in our operations fund.
Could you let me find that?
Absolutely, yep. Yeah, so the statement should start with August and then move through each month until you get down to March.
Bear with me. Okay, we ready.
So on the sheet that says KWA balance sheet operations fund, it'll say through March 31st of 17. Once again, the things I would highlight here is that our cash position at that time was about $6.5 million. And once again, this is the most recent statement that we've officially sent to you. There will be an April statement that you're going to receive perhaps as early as Friday, maybe Monday, when we've got that finally compiled. You're going to see that in the April statement, that number is still at about $6.5 million right now. Okay? And I want to point that out because we will be talking about that a little bit later in the meeting. If you go back about 3 pages, you're going to see another sheet that says KWA balance sheet construction fund. So if you recall from our previous statements, that the main areas that we're holding funds are in our operations area and in our construction fund. So under the construction fund, once again, if you look at the first cash section, 002 cash construction, you'll see that at the end of March that was setting at $2.9 million. And now once again, when you get your statement here in the next few days, it's going to be closer to $2 million. Okay, because we've obviously paid out some more bills between then and now.
I don't see that 2.9.
It should be under the KWA balance sheet. Let's go back one more. You're almost there. This number right here. And so once again, I bring this to your attention because there's going to be some discussion about this number and the fact that it's getting low and that we still have some construction costs and bills to pay. And so I just want to bring that to your attention. Other than that, once again, each of these reports always has an AP invoice report where we show for the month what bills were actually paid out in both the operations fund and in the construction fund. So, nothing here that, isn't normal, what we've been doing for the better part of 3 years. But that really is the treasurer's report showing you, where we stand on the balance sheets and then showing you what has been spent. So I don't know, I'll certainly entertain any questions that anyone has at this point.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I don't know if this question is appropriate to you or Mr. Wright, but my question has to do with the construction funds or the money expenditures that will complete the connection from the KWA, the pipeline coming from Port Huron to Genesee County. Have those expenditures started, and will they reflect in any report we deal with today?
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Mays, the construction of the project is 100% complete.
So right now,
And all expenditures, except for what we're going to talk about in a little while, have been paid for. But the pipeline project itself is in the ground, has been tested, pumps are all ready to go, and everything's all ready to go, et cetera.
so in layman terms, right now, you can deliver water from Lake Huron to all of Genesee County. Everything is
No,
complete.
we can deliver it to its two delivery points. One, the county water treatment plant, the other, Center and Pearson Road, that initially was to be for the Flint water treatment plant. That's all in the ground. We cannot supply water to Genesee County until our treatment plant is completed and all the testing is completed, which we hope to have done by September or October of this year. And at that point, the treated water can be distributed throughout Genesee County.
Yeah, I'm only referring to construction costs and pipe, that construction part is what I'm referring to. Has that been all complete?
It's all been
The
completed.
KWA portion is completed, and there's certainly a whole nother set of pipes that Genesee County Drain Commission is building, but that has nothing to do with KWA's finances.
And so none of these finances will relate to that. It's gonna be,
There's been expenditures on KWA, and there still will be additional expenditures to finalize the project. Because we're still holding money on some of the contractors, there's still some cleanup work to be done, and some other issues. But the pipe is physically in the ground. I'd say it's been 98.5% paid for. The dollars that are left are the contingencies that we hold on the contractors until such time as everything's cleaned up. The road commissions, other governmental entities have signed up.
and then finally, Mr. Chairman, so as we look at this March report and we see the 6 million and then the 2.9 million, we need, not knowing what we'll hear in the April report, we will see these monies go down and there's no need for them to go up or be replenished.
I can speak to that. So once again, we're going to get into this in one of the resolutions that we have here. We're going to need to, and I'm not going to go into all the details yet until we get there, but there is an amount of money that we are going to need to utilize out of the operations fund. That's what we're proposing today, to move it into the construction fund. And then at a later date, that is all repaid out of future bond proceeds sale that we have to refinance. So maybe the way of saying that is there's probably about $6 million in bills left to pay. Okay, we have about $2 million in the construction fund right now. And you have to keep in mind when the commissioner says, or the CEO says, that 8% has been paid for, it's a $290.5 million project. There's about $6 million left in bills to actually be paid on that. A pretty small percentage.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thoughts?
There is a time for public comment here shortly.
Okay.
I have a motion by Curtis to accept the financial report. Support by, was that you, Tom? Ted. Okay. Support by Ted Henry. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion
Mr. Chairman,
passes.
I would abstain as I continue to look at the details.
Okay. Have you been getting emails and all these reports every month?
Yeah. But you know, I ain't as sharp as some absent the meetings and explanations. You know, I'm for meetings and explanations, and we haven't had a meeting with since August. So that's why I abstain, because just as you seen me as a board member ask questions, until I know, I abstain until I get caught up to speed. It could be me, but that's just my way.
And if I could add to this here, Ed, quite all right too, we've had questions along the way in past months where people either contacted Janice after she sent out the reports, or they contacted me directly with questions on any of the finances, and we always welcome that. You know, if you get one in a few days and you have another question, just feel free to give me a call or Janice, or email us, however you'd like to do that. Certainly welcome.
Mr. Chairman.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, our bylaws do allow me to abstain.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Thank you.
Yep. Very good. Thank you very much, Carl.
Okay, if it's okay, it looks like the next item on the agenda is going to be the
Plant
communication of Plant Moran.
They had lots of questions.
So if it's okay, I'd like to introduce Bill Brickey from Plant Moran. So Plant Moran is our auditor for the past few years, and Bill is our partner on our account, and works with a team of folks that we've come to know and appreciate their work. And they do ask us a lot of questions. But anyways, Bill will give his report here. I just want to let everyone know that after Bill is done, obviously you'll have a chance to ask any questions and whatnot, but he will not be staying for the remainder of the meeting, so I kind of encourage you, if you have some thoughts or questions, to do that at the end of his presentation. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you much. Welcome.
Thank you.
How do you do?
Thanks, Carl. So as mentioned, I'm Bill Brickey with Plant Moran, here to talk about the audit for the year ended September 30, 2016, and obviously realize at this point, you know, that the information in the financial statement itself is, you know, several months old. This was issued back in February, and you know, I know this is the first meeting that we've been able to come to. So first of all, hopefully you have in your packet two separate deliverables that I'll go through at a pretty high level. We actually have the financial statement itself, which is the large bound document that you received, and then we have what we call our end of audit report, sometimes referred to as the management letter, which actually talks about the audit process itself. So first of all, the only item I really want to point out in the financial statement itself is our audit opinion, which is on page 1 and 2 in the financial statement. And this is really the only document that I provide to you as your auditor. I mean, this is my opinion on the authority's financial statements as presented to us by management. And basically what our opinion says is that these statements are in compliance with all the rules and regulations. So the authority did receive what we refer to as an unmodified opinion, which again means these statements can be relied upon, and we have no audit issues related to the numbers that are presented here in this financial statement. From a real high level, when you kind of look through the information included in here, you know, obviously at this point the authority is still in the construction phase, so most of our audit work revolves around, is the debt reported properly, were all the fixed assets or capital assets accounted for properly, capitalized, were all the bills paid in relation to, you know, the outstanding contracts, that kind of thing. And so in the current year, you'll notice if you went through the financial statements, you know, through September 30, 2016, the authority has capitalized just over $310 million of construction expenditures towards the project. And there's, you know, again, through September 30, 2016, there's about $11 million left of unspent bond proceeds that was, you know, spent in 2017 related to the project. In addition, during 2016, the authority did issue $74.3 million of additional water bonds. And at the end of the year, there's approximately $330 million of debt outstanding related to the project. So again, on balance, you know, as part of the audit, you know, we did not identify any issues. The audit was very clean, and we have nothing financially that, you know, is being contested. The other thing I want to point out quickly is we do issue, again, our letter on the audit process itself. It's the 3-page stapled letter. Everything reported in here are items we have to report to you as part of the audit process. Specifically, you know, I would draw your attention to page 2, and there's really 4 items here in a row. The first part, the first highlighted bold item is difficulties encountered during the audit. Happy to report that we had no difficulties during the audit. The section below that, disagreements with management. Again, happy to report we had no disagreements. Again, if there was any accounting policies that maybe the authority had that we didn't agree with, we would report those here. But again, happy to report there were no disagreements. The next section, corrected and uncorrected misstatements. Again, if you read the last sentence, we did not detect any misstatements as a result of our audit procedures. And then under that, significant findings and issues. Again, happy to report that we have no significant issues. So on balance, Carl and his team, did an outstanding job with the audit this year. The numbers that they provided to us, we audited and had no changes to those. So again, I think, basically very clean audit, no issues to report. And again, you did receive the unmodified audit opinion, which is what you would certainly like to receive. So with that, again, I know I went through everything very briefly. If there's any questions on the audit itself, anything in the financial statements, I'd be happy to address those at this time.
Kudos to you, Carl and Trudy. Mr. Henry.
Through the chair, what is the lifespan of one of those huge water pumps? How are they timed up?
As far as the lifespan of the item?
Yeah.
So that's a decision that's made by management, and then we review that. Typically it could be, typically we see, it could be 30 to 50 years. Specifically, we could get you the information, but as part of the audit, we do look at the life put on that and compare it to industry standards and make sure that it's kind of in the range.
Everything you're talking about, the depreciation.
Yes.
Right.
Mr. Kervison?
Yes, I just wanted to touch base. Bill, you said there were no recommendations in the audit letter, but then you had a list of summary of significant accounting findings that were attached. That's you, right? So the things like the fact that we have deposits in one bank in excess of FDIC insurance, that sort of thing.
So you're referring to
I'm in the next document, the policy,
in the
those are the financial statements.
So these are actually, prepared in combination with us and management, and so these are required disclosures. So I wouldn't really refer to them as findings. So if you're referring to the fact that, as part of your cash handling procedures, there are uninsured deposits, and this is something very common. So obviously with the FDIC insurance rates being so low, it's sort of impractical to try and spread your money across, hundreds of banks to get insurance coverage. And so it's very common for us to see an uninsured amount. But we always say it's more important to evaluate the banks that you're investing in to make sure that they're in sound financial condition and that your risk of losing the funds on deposit with them is very low.
Okay, but ultimately you didn't make a recommendation to try and find cedars or something to spread that risk.
No, sir.
You're just saying it's there and you should be aware of it, and that's no, Carl.
100%. Yeah, we would never make the recommendation of how you should invest your funds. Again, we are just reporting this is the facts, not saying it's good or bad.
If I could, just to address that issue. I'll say this, that over the past probably 3 years, both in conjunction with the auditors and just internally, we've certainly talked about this issue quite a bit since we've had a large quantity of funds. And we sell a bond for $220 million. That's a lot of cash that we have in the possession. And so the one thing that we did predominantly to try to eliminate our risk was that we took the majority of those funds and had them in investments that were security backed. And we did that Deutsche Bank was our first one that we did about 3 years ago. And that was all secured at 104% collateralized backup. When we moved out of that security and we went to use Talmer Bank, we did the same thing. We went with 104% security backing on that. So the vast majority of our construction dollars were in my opinion, secured. But then there certainly are some dollars that you have in, at the time, say, a First Merit banking account, checking account, or a savings account. Now, obviously, that's become Huntington Bank. And some of those funds definitely are not collateralized and do fall into the FDIC insurance, once again, here limited to $250,000. And so we think we've made smart decisions, and we've certainly talked about this a lot and tried to figure out, how to do this with our financial advisor to make sure that our risk was as low as possible. And, the good news is that we're not holding $200 million anymore, because that's not investment in the ground. But
Well, the one in particular I saw, the 17 million in one bank, is that with Chemical now, since Tomer's gone?
Okay, so we have, a little over 16 million, I believe it is, with Chemical Bank, but that actually is collateralized. So that is the money that's in the bond reserves for the $220 million offering. And we're actually proud to say, now it's kind of old news now, that has new to some of you here, that when we did that investment out about 2 years ago, we actually were able to secure a 2.5% interest rate on that on a 10-year note. We're earning very good return on those dollars. And once again, that is collateralized, and now did go from Palmer Bank to Chemical Bank during the buyout.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Mays.
Yeah, it's two issues that I wanted to ask about, and if it's not the right time, I'll wait till new business or something, but the two issues that I heard mentioned, Mr. Chairman, through you to the auditor, I heard one, seemed like I heard an issuance of $7 million worth of bonds. And then the other one, it seemed like I heard something about an additional bond.
Yeah, that was 74 million.
74 million.
Yeah.
And that was an additional issue. And if I can find out more about it later or now, I'm curious about that, because I don't know, how that works and who pays that.
That will be discussed later on in the meeting.
Okay, and then that'll be
Yes, it
fine.
was a short term.
And then the other issue that I heard is the asset issue. I know that we've constructed a pipeline, but I can also discuss that later. Do this audit, or now, do this audit discuss the value of the new pipeline? I know what the construction cost was, but I'm looking at a value, because I'm from Flint, I gotta look at whether I hold on to a valuable asset or sell it dollar for dollar. Is this audit reflecting what the actual value of some of this completed construction is? Did I hear you speak about that? And if so, where at can I see?
So, Mr. Mays, on page 19, this is the activities of the capitalized assets of the authority. Now I will caution you and mention that under the accounting rules, assets are accounted for on a cost basis, meaning what you pay for them, not necessarily what they're worth in the market. So if you're saying, what is this worth? This is not what it's worth. I have no idea what it's worth. This is what you paid. And so in here on page 19, sir, you'll see that at September 30, 2016, the value of the assets that have been paid for to date was $310,337,000.
You say I can see that on page 19.
Yes.
And you're looking for 300 million?
310 million.
310, thank you, I see that. So that's the construction cost.
Correct.
Okay, so,
Actually, let me just, I want to make sure this is correct. That's the value of the entire asset, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we paid to construct it. It doesn't mean that that's necessarily the dollars that went to a construction firm, because there are capitalized interest costs in this, which becomes part of the cost of developing your overall asset. In other words, we borrowed money, and when we borrowed money, we also borrowed, for instance, on the $220 million, we borrowed 2.5 years of capitalized interest. And what that basically means is we had to make payments to the bondholders, but we borrowed the amount of money to be able to do that for 2.5 years, so that the city of Flint and the Genesee County didn't have to start making these double payments, buying water from Detroit and also paying interest out at the same time. So that becomes capitalized. And so that is why that figure stands at 310 million at the end of September, when actually the amount that we probably spent with contractors and buying pipes and putting all that in the ground is a number closer to probably about $280 million at that time. Okay, so once again, capitalize it, there's a significant piece of this when you're talking about what is the value of the asset.
And so, hearing and receiving what I'm hearing, sorting it out slowly and understanding it as I go, I'll say again that if this is not the right time, then at some time I want to discuss the value of the assets, as he said, the market value, and get into some of that. And then I want to see, because there were 2 bond sales, and one of them had to do with Flint, and I need to look at some of that division. So I'm believing that from what I'm hearing, as far as Plant Moran and the audit, I'm gonna probably, if we have to vote, I'll vote to accept it or do whatever if there's a vote. It's in communications, but as far as the details of it, particularly as to that asset, is there anything else asset-wise that I need to know for the purposes of the audit? But outside of the purposes of the audit, I need to find out some stuff.
Okay.
So,
Was that a motion?
you want me to move it? I'll move to accept the audit.
From Plant Moran. I have a motion by me to accept the Plant Moran audit. Support by Curtis, sorry. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a presentation from our CEO. As evident by our agenda, this KWA meeting contains several action items. In order to ensure each item is addressed thoroughly, and each member of the audience is able to make public remarks on the agenda as a whole, it's imperative that everyone in attendance follow our bylaws and procedures. Each member of the audience, after this presentation by CEO Wright, will be allowed a public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes during the portion of the meeting to address the board. You may address agenda items or any topic that's relevant to the KWA board. And there will be a time limit. So, Jeff, please proceed with.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for coming today. One of the biggest questions I've been asked over the last month is, what about hearing about negotiations between Flint, Genesee County, Great Lakes Water Authority, etc. And since this board, KWA board, will ultimately have to be part of that vote, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on what we have as far as those discussions have been. I think it's important for everybody to understand how it all got started. On March 6, 2017, my office was asked to attend a meeting at the Governor's Cabinet Chambers in Lansing, along with myself and some of my staff. The City of Flint was represented, the EPA, the Great Lakes Water Authority, the DEQ, the Department of Treasury, and the administration, and a few others. At that meeting, an engineer who has been doing extensive studies on different options for Flint particularly, a gentleman by the name of John Young, presented several options to the people that were in the room for moving forward with water for Flint, Genesee County, etc. Of the options that were on that agenda, there was one that seemed favorable to everyone in the room that included potential contract of Flint having a contract with Great Lakes Water Authority for the next 30 years. Excuse me. That was the preferred option that was talked about at that table by everyone. I asked everybody present if that's the way they wanted to proceed. As the KWA CEO, I asked this question, and everybody was in the affirmative. So what I laid down at that point was that if this is the direction we want to go, and if KWA can be put in a position of not having any negative effect by this, that we would cooperate and try to get the process moving forward. To that end, there's been literally hundreds of hours of negotiations with Flint, Great Lakes Water Authority, EPA, DEQ, KWA representatives, Genesee County representatives, and what I'm going to present to you now is a draft that was presented by the director of the Great Lakes Water Authority to her board of directors at Great Lakes Water Authority. It's not a complete draft because not all of the documents pertain to KWA, and we're here today to talk about KWA. The complete draft that was presented to the board of directors of Great Lakes Water Authority will be on the KWA website starting tomorrow. If you want to see all of it. So with that,
Is there a date for that when you were presenting that? I think you said it, but I missed it.
well, March 6th is when we first sit
But when
down.
you were presenting that draft,
Let's see if it's on here. Is there a date?
No, you went to the last page. You didn't
Oh,
go.
I'm sorry.
There it is.
No problem. So I'll let everybody take a chance to read this, and if you have any questions on anything particular, there's one page that I'll get to that spells out what this means to KWA, and there are other points that are made on here, but they're not relative to KWA. And again, I want to stress that this was a Great Lakes Water Authority presentation by its director to its board for the purpose of bringing them up to speed. And this is basically all the partners we talked about earlier. Back up. Okay, I'll back up.
So, Mr. Chairman, in this picture, you're representing 4 of the 6.
Well,
Or, yeah, 4 of the 6 groups there.
there's the Genesee County
Oh, I'm
Drain.
sorry, 3 of the 6 there.
Well,
Genesee County,
yes.
Genesee County Drain, and the KWA.
I didn't put this together.
Okay,
That's why I
I'm
said
just
it's
saying.
drafted by Great Lakes Water.
I wanted to understand it in this sense.
There's only 2 entities that are truly represented from Genesee County, and that's the Genesee County Drain Commissioner's Office and the Carignan Water Authority. These were the outlines and objectives that were set out through discussions with all of the entities.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir, Mr. Mays.
through you to Mr. Wright, is it a way after the presentation to get hard copies of this presentation?
We'll get you a hard copy, but for those of you that do not want a hard copy, it'll be on our website.
and these would be known as the great GLWA's objectives.
No, actually, these objectives were discussed with all parties.
Okay.
And this is their analysis
Gotcha.
of what took place at those preliminary discussions
Okay.
of the goals that we all set.
Okay.
Ready?
This is a diagram that they again put together that shows in a different kind of way the collaborative effort. And basically what this shows is Flint purchasing finished water from the Great Lakes Water Authority, KWA continuing to sell raw water to Genesee County to treat it at its treatment plant, and continuing to have raw water available to the Flint city limits. It also shows that the Genesee County Water Treatment Plant would become the emergency backup water supply for Flint, Lapeer, Imlay, and Mayville. Excuse me.
I got a question on that. Mr. Chair?
Yes.
When I look at that diagram, the oval diagram that says GCDCPS, is that constructed yet?
That's pumping station, and I believe it is, isn't it? Huh?
That's our Henderson Road pump
Yeah,
station.
that's our Henderson Road pumping and storage facility.
And then up under that, you got an arrow pointing both ways. Does that indicate to me that the Great Lakes Water Authority can send water to that pumping station, and that pumping station can send water back the other way? Is that what that arrow
It's
is?
a reciprocating contract if it's completed. It does show that water can go in either direction, from Great Lakes to us in Flint, or from us to the Great Lakes Water Authority.
Is that arrow completed yet, construction?
Yes.
So everything that on that diagram is completed and in place?
I can only speak for the KWA portion and the Genesee County Drain Commission portion, that it is completed. I cannot speak for whatever needs to be done in Flint. Is the 48 on there? No.
Yeah, 48, yeah, we're still building 48,
Yeah.
between the plant and the pump
There's
station.
there's a piece that the county is building separate from KWA.
Where is that located on the
I
diagram?
pointed out for the
This line.
Okay, so when I look at that diagram, that's the arrow that's not completed yet. That's under construction.
and that's what will take the treated water from our plant to that pumping station.
Can you answer
From
me?
Genesee County's plant.
Yeah, to that pumping
None of the
station.
blue lines are carrying on to Waterford.
That's correct. Those are all either Great Lakes or Flint.
Potentially should be another discussion at a Genesee County meeting. Not
So,
necessarily taking up our time.
But that's okay. We'll get
That's
to,
okay.
what's your question, Eric?
so you telling me that the blue arrows is Great Lakes? But
Either
the
Great Lakes
48-inch
Blue arrows are either Great Lakes or Genesee County.
or Genesee County?
along the bottom line. The
Yeah,
blue arrow, the 48-inch, the blue arrow from the GCDC south to the 72-inch are also GCDCs. And then the one at the very top that goes across the top and then drops down into the Flint finished water storage, is that the KWA line, John? That,
This one?
yes.
This one is not, this is not built either.
Oh, is
This
that the one for the potential backup?
This is the one that they're proposing at Dort Highway.
Okay.
and it's not completed.
No, it's not, no.
And if that is completed in part of this project, then that will either be completed by Great Lakes or the city of Flint or both.
So, Mr. Chairman, if we on a time crunch, and if you feel this commissioner or whatever I am is taking up too much time, the bylaws state that we can call a special meeting when we do have time. I'm kind of appalled that you would say in a public arena on a diagram such as this that I'm taking up time unnecessary.
My thought is today's discussion and the financial papers that we have before us and at the square box. And yeah, you can discuss it all you want, all the time. Sure.
Well, I would also point out that
But I just don't
this
want
was a
to get
presentation to try to
confused.
bring the KWA board up to speed on what's been talked about.
And I
I don't want to get
There's
confused on
there's
what
gonna be,
we're responsible for.
and I also want to point out that this is draft, it's preliminary, subject to change. This was presented by the Great Lakes Water Authority to its board.
All I'm gonna say is, by me being, let's say I'm the less intelligent member on the board, when I see a diagram as a
Everybody that
board,
goes to Michigan State isn't that less intelligent.
that's where I'm talking about. So all I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, and to the board, I don't wanna unnecessarily take up your time. And I know Jeff and others and plenty of people, even if I have to come to do it. But when it come up, you tell me if we wanna be out of here by a certain time, cause we ain't met in months, then I'm gonna get the drift and we'll deal with it. But, we gotta be careful when you show this board member something and want me to digest it. But, okay, thank you.
So that's a rough
Dr.
draft.
Sullivan.
This might not be the time for this question, but I'm thinking about backup. And that it sounds like what you're saying is that as a backup, Flint will have finished water from the new treatment plant, is that correct? Or
And that's what's
perhaps,
being proposed.
or perhaps your reservoir.
Well, a reservoir is raw water.
Okay, so my question is, what is your backup?
The reservoir.
So if there is a power outage causing you to have to rely on your reservoir, would there be enough to also supply Flint?
Those are technical details that are still being discussed.
Okay.
There's 14 days of water in that reservoir.
Right.
Hopefully, any problems can be resolved in 48 to 72 hours.
Okay.
But there are also things that aren't on this diagram. For instance, where you see the GCDCPS, there's 20 million gallons in treated water storage at that site already, exclusive of the raw water reservoir. So there's a lot of different areas of storage, treated and untreated, that are part of the discussion that aren't part of that diagram. Whatever it ends up being, it has to be approved by the EPA and DEQ as a certified backup water supply, meeting their minimum standards. While I'm on that subject, I bring this to the KWA board because it has been presented to the Great Lakes Water Authority. It is a public document. It is in the works. It's a piece that is continuing to evolve. And once there's a final document, it has to go to the Great Lakes Authority for a vote of its board. It has to go to the city of Flint for a vote there. It has to go to Genesee County to its board of directors. And then the final place it will come is here, to the KWA board.
So this is just an introduction.
This is just an introduction of what they produced for their meeting. So there's a lot of work left to be done. We're all trying very diligently to get it done as quickly as possible to get moving towards the future, whatever that may hold for all of us.
My understanding is that we're talking about it being in draft form because it's right now continuing to go
That's
back
correct.
and forth between these two entities.
That's
To
correct.
look at what is it we have to do, and we keep sending it back and forth to make sure certain things are getting
Yes.
worked out.
That's exactly right.
And, okay.
And Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
And so, Mr. Chairman, you're saying to me, concentrate on the goal, which is the KWA. And I'll see how that comes into play with everything else. So your point is well taken, but when we get to that part of the presentation, I'm gonna see if it ties in. But I'm listening to what you're saying.
Again, this is a product of Great Lakes Water Authority, and they broke down, and again, These are draft, they're part of the goals. The only thing that directly involves this body that's here today is down in the bottom left-hand corner. And if the proposals come through as projected, KWA will not be affected negatively or differently or positively by this. It preserves KWA's financial position. This is part of a master agreement, regional cooperation that we all talked about, and it's still under discussion. I wish, well, it's a lot of paperwork to print out all together. I think it was 40 pages, but we'll get hard copies for all of you to hang on to. If you contact Kevin Sylvester, anybody that wants a hard copy, I'll send to them. Short of that, it is on the website. Yes, sir.
Okay.
No salt? This is just some of the stuff between Genesee County and Great Lakes Water Authority. And I guess kind of for the city's benefit on this one, this part gets enacted, then the 72-inch that is currently being used by the city and the county would revert back to the city also. This is carried on. Yes.
To clarify that, you're saying the 72-inch from Henderson Pumping Station to the...
Approximately. The piece that was purchased originally from Flint would be returned to Flint.
For about.
You're not paying for it. So here we go with the Carrick-Nandi Water Authority. Preserves existing security to the bondholders, which was very important for all entities because Flint, Great Lakes Water Authority, KWA, and Genesee County are still responsible for bond payments. So it's important that we do everything we can to preserve the bondholders' interests so we don't pay a penalty or a higher rate. Yes.
You named 3 entities that's responsible for the bond.
KWA,
KWA,
Genesee County,
Genesee
Water and
County.
Waste Services Division, and Flint. And that's it. I hope that we can have a more definitive for our next meeting, which may be next month. One of the reasons we have not had a meeting, as Eric's pointed out, is we had this get together in March. We were supposed to have our regularly scheduled meeting in March after the first of the year. And because of everything that had taken place at that meeting and the negotiations that are still ongoing, I thought it would be best to at least get to a point where I could come talk to this body about what was happening. That couldn't have been done in March or April because we hadn't gotten far enough. That's why I postponed those meetings so we could come here today and have a little more information to share with you. Any questions on that?
Dr. Sullivan.
One of the things I remember distinctly when, I was first brought on board about sort of the guidelines or bylaws or whatever for KWA was that the members of the KWA were the only entities that could buy or sell capacity.
That is correct. The 5 incorporating members.
Right.
And that is Sanilac County, Lapeer County, Genesee County, City of Flint, and City of Lapeer. That's correct.
So, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but the appearance is that capacity is being sold or traded with Great Lakes Water Authority. Am I misunderstanding that?
Well, I should break this down. The only part that we've been involved with from a negotiating standpoint is the parts that affect Genesee County and the KWA.
Right.
There have been separate negotiations between the Great Lakes Water Authority and the City of Flint, etc. In a general sense, based on what is in this document, we're what is being looked at, and I want to make sure that that's clear, is that the Great Lakes Water Authority would have kind of a lease to own agreement ultimately. So they would lease the system or the raw water capacity from the system, from Flint for the next 28 years, with the idea at the end of the 28 years they would own it.
So I'm wondering, is that kind of up to the interpretation of the KWA board as to whether or not that rule about capacity and who can?
It will be.
Okay.
But it first has to be determined how the Great Lakes and Flint want to work that part of it.
Right.
We will have the last vote on it.
Right, and so is there a way to get a sense of the feeling of the KWA board about whether or not this crosses the line?
I think it's a little premature because we don't have enough specifics at this point. At least I've not seen the specifics
Okay.
because again, that's something that's being negotiated between Flint and Great Lakes.
Right.
When we have all of that and Flint and Great Lakes are satisfied with it, then we'll have something to talk about.
Would it be fair to say that what must be preserved is this underlying basic rule that capacity will not be sold or purchased by any other entity but those four or those five?
KWA, those 5 entities can sell capacity, their
one
own
another.
capacity that they purchase.
But only to one another. That was my understanding.
Well, let me kind of put it, let's say a business wanted to locate in Flint that uses 5 million gallons of water a day. Flint could sell that raw water to that business.
Okay.
Genesee County can, inside the city of Flint. Sanilac County can't share any capacity outside of their jurisdiction. Genesee County can in its, Flint can in its. One of the things that we have talked about that I've pushed for is even though the Great Lakes Water Authority may have some control over that capacity of raw water, that raw water can only be sold inside the city of Flint. So if there's a business that comes, or if somebody wants to locate someplace else, and get that raw water,
They have to be into
they
it.
have to do it. That's been our position.
That's okay. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mays.
Yeah, through you to Mr. Wright and to the board. I sit in a peculiar position because I sit in Flint that's going to probably make some decisions before the KWA. And I fight for knowledge and understanding every step of the way. And so when you listen and look at it from my view, and I see diagrams and communications for the first time, and I listen, and I'm in that first KWA meeting, look at what the title says, Regional Partnership. When you sit on a board such as this, and you've been in control of water in the city of Flint, selling to the county, and now you coming in a regional partnership with a diluted vote, I have to take a serious look at that because you're diluting control and power of water. I also have to look at the bylaws. I know that the bylaws of the KWA can be changed, amended, and done with at any time by a majority vote. That's just how bylaws work. And I look at the voting population of the KWA. I also understand that Great Lakes Water Authority people can become members of this board. So all I'm saying to everybody is that, Mr. Chairman, just like Dr. Sullivan, when you in a position to make decisions first as a city of Flint official, and then later the decision's gonna come to this board, we are gobbling up knowledge. And so that's why I was saying to you, I'm respectful of everybody else's time, but the decisions I'm gonna make here are gonna affect my grandkids and their grandkids. 30 years down the road, I'll be probably dead and gone. Well, I don't know, I might live to be 124 years old. So trust me, I'm not trying to take up your time, but I really have to make some serious decisions. And if we ain't got the time, Mr. Wright, I would implore you, keep us meeting.
You know, you've said this 3 times, you're getting all the time you want.
Well, I mean, I was in Paris for a minute there, and when
I'll
you
apologize
make
for
me
the-
gun shy, I won't ask questions. I want people to get back to what they do.
Mayor Weaver?
Yeah, and really to your point, Councilman, is one of the things that we thought we would even have as of yesterday was a draft of what was going on between Flint and Great Lakes, and that has not happened yet. There were still.
I think that's important, Mayor. It's
Right,
a
that
work
for people
in
to know
motion.
that we thought we would have something yesterday, and actually we thought we would have something yesterday to be able to give to council, and we did not get it. And I'm hoping that we get that today. So
We're working,
maybe when
everybody's
when we
working
get
towards
back,
it.
it will be there. But I do know that it has been a work in progress. One of the other things I want to say is, and I'm going back to the point that Mr. Mays was making as far as things being diluted. And sometimes, you know what, we were in a position where we played the hand that we were dealt and trying to make the best decisions with what we had. And it's taken us a very, very long time. And it has been a lot of meetings and it's been a lot of work. And I think that was why we were going forward with the recommendation that we did make, because one of the things you said was you did not want this to impact KWA in a negative way. And we were trying to avoid that. We were looking at the best thing for the city of Flint at the same time. And so hopefully things don't change too much more. You know, we're waiting to get some information back from the place. But one of the things I still wanted people to know was as we were doing these negotiations, while we did everything we still wanted to make sure that we were putting public health first and foremost. And that was why we wanted to stay where we were. And if, you know, somebody asked me, did it mean that there's something wrong with the other water? I said, I'm not saying that at all. But just because of the anxiety level of everything we've gone through and not having to do all of this testing again, this was for the people of Flint because we felt like we'd been through enough. So when we were doing all of this, it was public health first. And then we looked at being fiscally responsible. And so, you know, for us to be able to get, even though that $7 million a year debt is still there, for us to be able to get from up under that is a heavy burden relief to the city of Flint. And for us to have that access to the RAP, the Water Relief Assistance Program for our people and to be able to let them know about that is very, very important, because right now we've been putting some temporary things in place for people to help them make certain payments, and we knew this would give us that access. We've talked about the infrastructure and having money to be able to address those infrastructure needs. And like you said, we know we used to sell water, and while some of that has changed, it does give us a revenue source with that raw water that we can sell, and we're hoping that we're going to be bringing some businesses into the city of Flint, and so that would be something for us to do. I'm sure I've forgotten something, and so I do want you to know that as soon as we get that information, we'll be sharing that. It will be going to you all as soon as we get it. The other thing is, some of those meetings, we haven't been in all of the meetings. Some of the meetings have been between Great Lakes and the county, or Flint and Great Lakes, or Flint and the county.
Or the
And so-
EPA,
or the
DEQ.
EPA and the DEQ.
There's been
And
hundreds of
so-
hours spent by all of us.
Right, so I'm really hoping that we have some more information today, because we were hoping that at least for Flint and Great Lakes, we have something final to present this week. But it keeps changing, and so we don't have that information.
Dr. Sullivan?
Could you go back to the slide that was sort of a graphic representation of?
The whole group,
Yeah.
chart, the whole group.
I'm pushing as fast as I can push. One lane. It only goes as fast as it wants to.
So, based on what we were just saying, the circle that says Great Lakes Water Authority Inlay Pumping Station,
Go, do what now?
the Great Lakes Water Authority Inlay Pumping Station.
Yes. That's an existing pumping station.
But it's not in Flint.
It's owned by Great Lakes Water Authority.
Right, so to what you said earlier about Flint can sell the raw water to Great Lakes Water Authority as long as they do it in Flint? Is that what you meant?
In a general sense.
In general, okay.
Yes. The raw water that Flint has purchased the capacity for
Right.
can, what, I shouldn't say can be, what we're pushing for is that it can only be sold.
Including being, if it's sold to Great Lakes Water Authority.
Well, my assumption is, again, I don't sit in on these meetings, so I can't tell you exactly what's going on.
Right.
But my assumption, and I shouldn't ever assume, but I'm going to. My assumption is that through this process, that Great Lakes will have access to the 18 million gallons a day of raw water that Flint holds a title on, or deed to.
Okay.
And that if they want to use it, it has to be used in Flint.
If Great Lakes Water Authority wants to use it.
Yes.
Point of information.
Okay.
You follow?
No, I want to make sure, just because it will come back here, that I'm clear about.
And those things will come back here, but I want to stress too, that that's a negotiation between Flint and Great Lakes.
Sure, but, you know, if I know that it could be a hang up here, I want to make sure that I'm clear on the limits of that.
Yeah, I think this body should, its main concern should be that we're not negatively impacted by whatever Flint and Great Lakes in Genesee County does.
Right.
Mr.
Curtis, just to Mrs. Sullivan, Dr. Sullivan's point, the only venue to get raw water 63 miles inland is KWA. And so when she looks at the charter, it's all raw water where it starts. That's Detroit, DWSD, Glenwood now. That's their treatment
line.
plant.
Yes,
That's their treatment plant and everything. So the only raw water across the state is the KWA lines, transmission lines to pump it over there.
So physically, Great Lakes Water Authority wouldn't really be touching this water.
If they wanted to build a plant in Flint, they could.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Through you to the attorney, it seems logical to me that at any time this body can change or amend the rules as it relates to this raw water. That ain't etched in stone. Would that be a fair statement that this board can vote and say that Great Lakes Water Authority can have access to water, and if the vote, raw water, and if the vote passed, I mean, ain't that where the rules lie within the voting body of this board?
Each of the entities would have to vote on it.
Through you to the attorney, if you know.
Yes, please.
To some effect, that's correct, Mr. Mays. However, you do have to keep in mind, we have an incorporating document that cannot be changed except for by unanimous vote of the 5 incorporators. As long as that is not impacted, as long as the various financing contracts and other contracts are out there with water customers cannot be impacted, then that answer is yes. And I believe the bylaws require a supermajority vote for a change also.
So those things would have to happen.
So when you say the incorporators, you mean the city of Flint, Lapeer County, in addition to these board members?
The incorporating is...
I understand what that means. All I'm doing is just trying to clear it up in my mind and in others and move on, Mr. Chair. Because I think that even though I sandbag, I'm smart enough to know about how stuff can be changed. Thank you.
So just for clarification, Flint is one of the incorporators.
Right.
Flint has 18 million gallons contract.
Right.
So if Flint wants to make a deal with Great Lakes Water Authority, can they sell Great Lakes Water Authority some of the water?
It's raw water.
Raw water, yes. and then
But they have to do that in
treats it to
Flint.
their, they have to do it.
Inside.
Within your service area, that's.
Within, they have to do
service
that
area.
in Flint,
That's
where,
what I'm-
where they don't have direct access. to that.
And that's the regulation of the Great Lakes Compact, because it has to be sold
The Great Lakes Compact requires the water to return to the watershed
from which it comes. So they can't take the water and sell it to Grand Rapids and dump it in Lake Michigan, because it has to be returned to the point where it comes from.
Under the KWA permit, that is correct.
Does that help? So Flint wants to make a contract with Great Lakes Water Authority for their existing capacity, which you guys already have spoken for. Fine.
And it would require an additional vote now, not inside the city, just outside the city would require the additional votes and the changes and all that.
Under the contract between the city of Flint and Carrigandi Water, you're restricted to selling water within your municipality jurisdictional limits.
To whoever we want. But this proposal says that it'll be I'm even thinking an ownership. Mr. Wright is calling it a lease, but at the end of the payment of the bond, that's when, and I ain't trying to bring it up here, we got plenty days to talk about. But at the end of the day, what I heard is that Great Lakes will own the asset. And so that's why they're giving us the discount. That's why I asked about the value of the asset. And why would I want to own an asset that I have no control of? And the only control is if I can do something with water inside the city of Flint, and or if I can convince the incorporated bodies and the board here to change and let me on board. And so that's what I'm getting at. Nothing in my mind tells me that bylaws and rules and stuff can't be changed in favor of the regional authority. Because when you're trying to form a regional authority and the governor and all the big shots come in, these rules will change. So I hear what's being said now. I understand voting and changing, and I'm like, okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Curtis.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. The 3 mile line that was supposed to be installed prior to bringing the Flint treatment plant online, the EPA was requiring us. Is that now not being constructed?
Well, actually, the state of Michigan has been funding it.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, about 3 weeks ago, John, we got a letter from the state that is being postponed.
Yeah, they put a tentative hold on the project.
So
And that would have been more or less from Henderson Pumping Station.
no, that would have been from Center and Pearson Road.
Oh, okay.
That's down in the city, to the treatment plants.
So now to go along with what Mr. Mays was talking about, this section here, it'll go back to Flint ownership.
Yes,
It's technically not all in the city of Flint.
that's correct.
They will have the ability to control who accesses that line.
That is correct.
And of course, Great Lakes Water has this access authority. And we have up here throughout the rest of the region.
That's correct.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, that connection with Genesee County PS and that connection you pointed out, that might not even be in the city of Flint. So
It's not.
yeah, so that's the point. Stuff would have to change for the asset to be valuable. And then for them. And then also when you look at what's being said here and you talk about the incorporated cities, my vote in Flint will mean nothing because the Receivership Transition Advisory Board, they caused the shot for the city council and the city of Flint. So this is happening at a time where other incorporated bodies and KWA might have a legitimate vote but my vote will be voted by the state, the Receivership Transition Advisory Board. So I just like to learn, and I'm fully aware that if I vote yea or nay in the city, the final vote will be the state. Thank you.
Any further questions for Commissioner Wright on the presentation?
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes.
Typically, we have correspondence on here, and it's not, but I am going to bring it up if I may. I know that there are residents here today, particularly from Clam Road in Lapeer County. And I've had staff out to Clam Road, and there is a definite water problem on Clam Road from surface water, problem. And it relates to some ditching and some design and some approvals and some permits. So although I encourage the folks on Clam Road to still take your 3 minutes to get on the record, I do want you to know that I'm fully aware of the problem and agree that there's a problem. And my suggestion is that myself and some of my staff, the Lapeer County Road Commission, and the property owners that are having the problem meet at the site to discuss solutions or potential solutions to that problem. But I also want you to encourage you to take your 3 minutes and put that on the record.
Is there a time frame set up for that meeting?
No, this first, it was brought to my attention a few days ago. I've had staff out there to document the pictures and other things of what's going on. I'm satisfied there is a water problem.
Is there a landowner representative for us in that area that works with all these people?
Don Camp.
Okay, I have Don Camp.
But I'd like to go out there myself, and I think, as I said, the best way to try to get it resolved is to have all of the interested parties there.
So when would you like the meeting?
Yeah,
Well,
we
if you
had
would,
one
give
Thursday.
You want to give your name and address? We can go into the.
Okay. I think we're at the point where we can go to public comment, and as I said before, there's a 3 minute time frame. This is not a question and answering. If you have a question, you can state it. 1 minute? Oh, 1 minute notice, okay. So when Mr. Curtis waves his hand, or we going to back again?
We started at 3 minutes, we get down to 1 minute remaining, I will let you know that you have 1 minute
First, please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Norma Kraus. I live at 3571 Clam Road, Colbyville. And the water has been atrocious, and the neighbors, and they build a ditch to nowhere. It goes nowhere. So it goes through their pond, comes across my property, floods my front yard, ruins my driveway. And when they did the road construction earlier with the pipes, they took out a culvert that came across the road, which would take care of a lot of water problems. You have to come out there to see it to understand it. So, and I know Dave Camp and Kevin is out there. But yeah, we need something done because we got a mosquito hole. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Norman. Please state your name.
You don't have to go.
You don't have to walk over there.
Yes, she does, yes, she does.
You may go, but you don't have to.
This is my front yard you're gonna see. Yeah, she's right next to us. And her hayfield's next to that. Okay. Eleanor Newton, 3555 Clam Road, Columbiaville, Michigan. I didn't know if you were aware of the problem, that's why we brought the pictures. They did come, Don Camp and Kevin Patty came, and also Dustin was there Thursday, and 8 neighbors. And they, like she says, it's a ditch to nowhere. They dug a deep ditch. We used to mow most of that ditch, and now it is full of water, as if you can see in that pictures. It's water on east and west side ditches. Mosquitoes are terrible. The water is running across our yard. When it rains, it even gets worse. It runs across the driveways. into her yard, over her driveway. She has to put boots on to go get the mail. And then right next to it is her husband's hayfield. Used to have a little stream that went through and he could do his hay. Now the whole field is saturated because they made a swamp out of that. And we were not, I know, here's a hill, here's a hill. I'm saying, well, you know, you're low. We did not have this problem before that, prior to the ditches being dug and the water line being put in there. And I have a blueprint, and if you look at it, I can't find mine, we use the other neighbors. It shows wetlands on the other side of the road, but ours was not labeled wetlands nowhere. And it's, like she said, the mosquitoes. They have got camps going like this, walking down our driveway, because they're hatching, they're little. There's swarms of them. And my husband's trying to mow the yard, and he's got trenches. Finally, the sun is drying it up a little bit, but it's a hazard. Mosquitoes. Okay, and the water is so deep, if somebody drove accidentally into the ditch, they'd probably drown. I don't know how deep it is. 4 feet, 5 feet, I don't know. But look at the pictures. You can see that's a lot of water, and we never had it. Even Kevin DePatti says, I drove through here before, and you never had water like this. I said, we know that. So that's our problem.
If I may ask one question, is that ice in those pictures?
Is that what?
Ice on the water?
Yeah, it started in January. The water has not moved since January.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Oh, wait, no, I forgot.
My name is Jane Gilmore. I'm at 3470 Clam Road. I live right across the street from Eleanor and Norma. I've lived there in Lapeer for 30 years at my residence. We have never had a water problem there until they put the water system in. Then, like I said, not proper drainage going on. Plus our phone lines are right now, since the water's over there, all of our phone lines is underneath the water. So of course we've had phone problems for off and on the last 2 years, because when they went in, they cut the wires. So Frontier's been out to fix the wires. But then what they did is also, they made the road, we have a lot of blind spots between our driveways because of the two hills. Well, then they did that, they made the road up a little bit higher, which caused a sharp pitch in the ditches. We can't mow the ditches now. With the blind spots, we have to have that so that we can be able to mow that, so that it's not dangerous for us to go in and out of our driveways. So we need the board to take and consider about fixing the ditches, the drains problem that we have there, plus the pitch of the ditches, so that we can mow them instead of the weeds growing up in the county coming out maybe once or twice a year to mow it, because then it puts us in danger. And I do want to say, the employees that you had out there to do this were very respectful. We have a beautiful road. They were very respectful to all of us that lived in the neighborhood. And we're very thankful of that, because we put up with it for 2 years now. So I want at least to say thank you for them having consideration for all of us there in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Yes, sir.
I want to say they put a brand new blacktop on the
I
road.
need your name, please.
Oh, Les Newton.
Les?
Yeah.
Thank you.
They
Address?
they redid the road, put a nice blacktop on it, dug the ditches deep, but the muskrats from the different ponds around, they got a nest. They left my pond and went to the ditch, and now they're digging back underneath the road that they just put down.
A beautiful road.
And it's gonna cave in.
Well, the road looks good. We just gotta do something about the muskrats. I don't know if I do much about that.
Well,
The neighborly man to track them.
Wes, can I get your address, please?
3535.
Pardon?
3535, thank you.
55, 35, 50.
Oh, okay, you're together.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Fred Morehouse, I'm the supervisor of Marathon Township. We also have some issues with Clam Road to Valley to Flint River. These are the haul routes. I wonder if there's any money set aside to repair the roads that were damaged by the constant trucking going up and down to help restore the roads for the back to shape they were before the project again. Did take a ride last fall with Kevin DePotti to show him the areas. Kevin come out, picked me down the Stryker Road for him, the County Road for him. And the gravel was pummeled so bad by the trucks that it turned to sand. And when you drive down the road, you hit it, it's like you're hitting washboard, and it's hard to control your car. Kevin said that they would remove that sand, replace it with gravel everywhere it happened. There's probably total, a mile of road that needed to be repaired. We don't have a large budget, and we're hoping to get some consideration from the board if there's any money available to take care of that.
One comment at that, the board comment. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Mark Munson, 4211 Spandy Road, Tonyville, Michigan, kitty corner from the reservoir there. You're still hammering our road to death because you're going to take the west end of Stanley Road at Marathon. Of course, all the trucks are still coming by. It's been 2 years. It's bad. And you only improve the gravel road down to your office building. And the stretch from the office building to the easternmost part that you're paving, going to pave. You said, so apparently you have no responsibility for that. That road was not a real good road, but we could always get up and down it. Now it's been completely destroyed. The worst part was there was a semblance of ditches on both sides, not big, huge ditches, but enough to keep the road semi-drained. When it got real bad, when you folks actually used your grader to maintain our road, you graded the mush off the top of the road into the ditch. Besides, a couple of your trucks got stuck in the ditch, and now the ditch is not functional anymore. So I'd like to have you at least put a little gravel back on that road and open the ditch back up to where it was previous to you using it for hauling 60 million cubic yards of dirt out of the hole you dug there, plus the tens of thousands of yards of aggregate and whatnot you bring in to construct it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Understood. Anyone else? Dustin? Gingell?
Justin Gingell, Lapeer County Road Commission, County Highway Engineer. As noted in the meeting minutes that the board just approved, I was in attendance of that meeting. I had the concern with Norway Lake Road between M24 and Flint River Road as stated, and that the road was put back at 18 feet. To date, I have not heard any response if that safety concern is going to be corrected or if there's been any proposed corrective action from the board. Does the board have any light to shed on that issue yet?
This is a public comment. Only you can get the comment and we'll
Fair game. The second comment, or my comments are, Lapeer County Road Commission would like to get the projects finalized out that are semi-completed in Lapeer County. To date, we've been struggling with KWA to get some complete as-built so we can finish our deficiency list up. We would like to request a representative from KWA to go and walk the project with us so we can get the deficiency list underway. We've submitted to KWA preliminary deficiency list, a bunch of resident concerns, comments, and that. To date, we've yet to hear anything back from KWA and those resident concerns. Some of those resident concerns included the residents that were here today. Those issues could have all been resolved. Construction of these pipelines were done last fall and no response from KWA. So if we could get some support from KWA officials to go out, walk the project with us, see the issues that we have. We have shoulder drops that are safety issues. If you went off the shoulder of the road, there's 10-inch, 12-inch drop-offs, the way the contractors left them. We've been informed by KWA that the projects have been constructed per the approved plan. So if we throw a question at KWA and say, hey, this is an issue, the response that we get back sometimes is, it's been constructed per approved plans. If we send a surveyor out there to collect the information to prove that it hasn't, then we get phone calls saying, hey, why are you surveying the road? So we're very confused at the road commission. We'd like some support from KWA officials to get these projects wrapped up in Lapeer County. I also want to comment on the haul routes that were utilized by the contractor. They put temporary aggregate underneath those roads, and then they walked away and left the townships with foreign material under their road beds. Thank you. Look forward to a response this time with our concerns from the Lapeer County Road Commission. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Ray Hayes.
Ray Hayes, Deerfield Township. Same kind of concerns as Road Commission has. Selden Road was used as a haul route. It's been mushroomed out. It's turned to mush. So a lot of problems on that. That mile south of Columbiaville Road was used as a haul route. Norway Lake Road, the width of it, and the amount of gravel on it. Just not there. A lot of water being trapped on the road and needs to get off the road somehow.
Ray, can you list your address, please?
5,000 Laura Road, L-A-U-R.
L-A-U-R.
North Branch. Thank you.
Any more further public comment?
Mr. Chairman, if I may? I'm going to wait for the end. That's no problem.
Yes. I'm going to close public comment at this point. Any questions that were stated will be answered at board final comment. Next on the agenda is new business, resolution 2017-01, the account transfer. I have a motion by Mr. Curtis, support by, is that Ted Henry? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Resolution 2017-02, the service contract. Motion by Jamie Curtis. Support by, is that you, Tom?
Yeah, well, either.
Okay. Tom gets this one. First pick. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by, oh, yes.
Hey, I'm just curious, I'm looking at this, and you guys, GCDC's been doing the work all along. I don't know if it makes sense to try to get a bid from someone else to verify the great value we're getting from GCDC for this work.
Well,
and you guys hear what I'm saying? So if we brought in an outside consultant to give it good, I'm not sure if that was certified. America's Water, whoever. There are groups, but I'm just saying, that way you know the cost of it more. Just saying, that way you confirm that the price is good.
Actually, it's an estimate at this point.
Oh, no, it's in writing.
It's an estimate at this point in time.
Right.
And we've only got 4 months to go, so we can.
Well, but it says ultimately that it's for potentially 20 years.
So the budgetary issue will be brought up again here in a few months. Okay. We'll have to look at it with greater detail. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Resolution 2017-03. I have a motion by, was that you, Tom? That was Ted Henry. Ted Henry. Support by Larry Green. Thank you. Any discussion?
Transmission fee.
Yes.
What is that? They're quick down.
Yeah, that is the water transmission fee is the fee for raw water. So we purchase raw water from KWA, so GCDC will be purchasing raw water at $6 a thousand cubic feet. So that's delivering raw water to GCDC.
Okay, thank you.
It's the fill in the blanks from our standard service contract.
Yes.
Capacity contract.
And the rate was set a long time ago.
Yeah, right, yeah. Okay. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Resolution 2017-04, 2017 budget amendment. Motion by Curtis. Support by Larry Green. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. This is that transfer of money that we was talked about earlier to the construction side, or from the construction to the operations side, one or the other. Was that discussed, or what is this transfer or amendment? What is the budget?
Back in August of 2016, when we prepared the Carignan water budget, we made the assumption that it was not going to deliver any water during the entire period of the fiscal year. If water was going to come and be delivered, we would come back with a budget. So Genesee County has made a request to start purchasing water from the Carignan waterfront effective June 1st. So as of June 1st, Carignan, now that we got the transmission fee, we've got the service contract, we could now put a budget together for June, July, August, and September of this fiscal year. So we prepared a budget based on the electrical cost to deliver water to the county based on the volume that they're requesting. And so we've requested a budget adjustment, a budget amendment for the remaining 4 months of the year. In addition to that, we also have to increase our budget for professional services for legal fees. Legal fees are associated with the investigation of the Flint water crisis that is impacting the Carignan Water Authority Board through the Attorney General's office. So that budget reflects, the proposed amendments reflect the turning the system on and then covering our legal bills for the remainder of the year.
Thank you, John.
So in effect, if I may, that budget amendment is, we don't see revenue that the KWA is paying out or revenue that we taking in.
It reflects both. It reflects the revenue, the expense to pay the county to pay for operating the system, and it also reflects the revenue coming in as KWA purchases, or GCDC purchases water from KWA.
Okay, so I'm looking at a $589,000 figure of money coming in, and what is we looking at going out? This is the 1.2 million.
The 2 million going out. Of that, 900,000 is legal.
Over 17, 2,069,000 for a different and so what we voting on here is a budget amendment to authorize that spending. Well, really both, but it's going to be a net spending.
That's correct.
All right.
And understand that 900,000 of it was legal expenses. Any further discussion? Questions, comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes. Resolution 2017-05, which is a request for reimbursement.
So moved. Support.
So moved by Paula and support by Nikki. Thank you. Any questions, discussion?
How much is the reimbursement?
We don't know.
Whatever we can get. Whatever we can get.
At the last meeting, Mr. Curtis, you were there, they authorized money for legal. And this is a resolution to go back to the state and say, hey, listen, pay us some of this money, it's ridiculous, we have to pay so much out.
I asked for that last time around.
So we're gonna officially request from the board action.
I didn't even get to. Yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair,
Send a letter with unanimous support.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
as we move in the board comment,
Yep.
may I say, a minute's worth of comment and then ask to be excused because I got a meeting.
Yes.
Wait a minute, I got something.
Yes.
So if Mr. Curtis want to put the time on, hey, I'm gonna beat the
I was
minute.
just trying to.
We'll start our board comment.
It'll give you a 30-second notice.
Start the clock. I want to say that I've enjoyed meeting everybody here. I've enjoyed the way that the meeting was conducted, and I'm a work, learning, and process that will continue to be a voice. And I thank you and look forward for the next meeting. Mr. Curtis, did I do that in a minute?
Mr. Chairman, the speaker's time.
I'll be excused.
Paula, is the mic on?
I have
Oh, you have to go too as well?
Yeah.
Do you want public comment?
I have, no, you know what, all I have to say is I'm hoping that we have this information for you in a very timely fashion. I hope we have something today, and as soon as we get it, we will get it to you, because we want everybody to know what's going on. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Mayor, when you get your packet from your work in progress from Leawood as well, and it's going to be a public document that you present to your legislative body to vote on, it might be helpful if you would forward that same packet to us as board members here so that we can have some continuity between the two. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
I have
Anybody
no
else?
comments, Mr. Chairman.
You have no comments?
No
Thank
comments.
you. Mickey?
Not at this time, thank you.
Larry?
Enjoy the holiday.
Amen. God bless our troops. Doctor?
No, thank you.
Tom?
Yes, I do. I would hope that the board or the PWA commissioner, Wright, and the Lapeer Road Commission can work out something, because, we're all in the same boat. If we caused a problem, I think we should, and I know you said earlier, the ditch was built to the specs that you were given. So that relates back to whoever gave you the specs. If it's not right, I feel for these people because I deal with this stuff on a daily basis. It's not fair to keep going, and I don't think the argument between the two parties has any bearing. Get the doggone thing solved, regardless of what. And I'm only saying this because I tell my same board the same thing. We create a problem. If we had an issue with it, let's take care of it. Really quit pointing fingers and let's just go on. We need gravel on the road, doggone it. It's not that expensive. It is, but it isn't. But if we have to share costs with the road commissioner, let's do so. That's my point.
Inadvertently, I skipped Ted. I'm sorry. Ted?
Oh.
Ted's next.
Thanks for having me here again. I enjoyed it to the fullest. Thank you.
Yes, our new board member, Martin.
Hey, thank you for appointing me to this appointment, but I'm sworn in today. I found the group to be very professional. I've been looking forward to sitting on this board, and I look forward to the future. Thank you.
Very good. Joe?
I am Lapeer County Drain Commissioner and have also had issues with our water line, and I've tried to work with the members working out in the field, and I have seen 2 punch lists that have never been used, 115 and 116. And now I'm getting a request to okay the projects without anything to be finished off. I'm able and available to go through the projects. That has not happened yet. I would like to see the Road Commission and the KWA work out their problems and settle the issues. The homeowners that are complaining on the water, I was out there to the sites, and I think how it can be drained would be very helpful there. It looks like the drain may be headed east, and the pipes that project I'm putting in, I'm putting the water to the west. Might be able to get into the southeast.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Curtis?
Oh, I got
Thank you for your hospitality.
Yes. Welcome, everybody, welcome to Lapeer. Go out, spend some money before you go home. I wanted to touch base again on our last resolution. I think it's very important that we, even if we have to get a few of our legislators, including Sheldon or whoever, to go over and make that request, we should be heard loudly about demanding that $1 million back to accommodate a ridiculous request. Because I'm looking at the list of attorney bills and it's just insane. And in the vein of the comments in the room, I'd like to make a motion that we assign Jamie Curtis to do the walkthrough because he's an impartial party. Any of the rest of us have a dog in the fight. So if he did the walkthrough, I know he's just told me he's not doing anything, so he could do the walkthrough and work on the checklist. Jeff can't go, it's in the middle of litigation.
No,
so-
I am going.
Oh, you're gonna go too?
I'm getting accurate, and I'll have
So-
some comments to make about your comments.
All right, so, do I have any support on that motion?
Motion dies for lack of support.
All right, that's
Commissioner.
I want to again stress, I'm fully aware of the problem on Clam Road. And I'm glad to meet personally, as long as the road commission representatives are there also, so we don't get this kind of finger point. I'll be available any day that I can, that they can come next week. I also want to address Destin. Destin knows full well, as so does the road commission, that we're in the middle of litigation. Not on your problem on Clam Road, but many of the other problems in Marathon Township and what was the other township? Deerfield. I'm not going to talk about them today because there's been mediators and judges that have ruled, all judges have ruled on our behalf so far. We keep getting taken back to court, taken back to court, taken back to court. Now we're in mediation. There's very little I can say about some of the current problems because of that litigation. Clam Road's different. Something certainly has got changed or altered there that needs to be addressed. I'm not saying that you don't need some gravel in some other areas also, but until the litigation is resolved, the KWA and myself our hands are tied, really, until that is resolved. So we're open for discussions anytime. Once that's done, short of that, I'll be glad to meet Clam Road anytime.
Is Clam Road's issues with the water department, that's right?
No.
So you can do it?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Anything further?
I could say a lot of things, but it's getting late.
Kevin, do you have anything to address us with?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, thank you Trudy, thank you Carl for all you've done, thank you for taking notes and all that fun stuff. I appreciate all the board members here. I'm Greg Alexander, the Sanilac County Drain Commissioner and Chair of the Carignan Water Authority. I want to welcome Martin as a new member of the board. And one of the functions that we typically do is whenever we get new board members, or we have, I'm not going to call them old board members, but other board members that want to give them a refresher course or have a lot of questions and answers that need to be taken care of. Dr. Sullivan attended one. We have a little class that we go through all the history all the way back to whenever. So I appreciate you being on board. We will offer you that as any other board members that either would like to or have not been able to attend one at this point. I'd like to direct your attention again to carignandi.com. The resources in there include all major permits, the route map, the construction contracts, the resolutions adopted by the board, including in a few days the ones that we adopted today. The bylaws, the FOIA policy. It also includes all of the audits, every financial report that we've went through since inception in 2010. And of course, very soon we're going to have today's presentation on there. That was on the agenda today. thank you all very much for coming. God bless our, do we have Liz here? We got adjourned. Okay.
Just one quick thing. Is there any way that, with the issues that we have on Clam and Deerfield, is there any way that we can get something mailed to us when the next meeting is? So it's a little bit, because we were blindsided.
Please
by
visit and keep your eye on that caregnani.com website, and you can, the word, everything's there.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Kevin DePati and Don Cam will come out and notify anybody that he talked to out there.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay, thank you.
I have a motion to adjourn by Curtis. All in favor? You're adjourned.